Hello everyone, welcome back to the one more session of multimedia systems. In the previous sessions, we had discussed about the organization, as a system where the various components were there which are on connectivity with various components, it becomes one complete system that we have gone through it. Then the various concepts with respect to conceptual model of communication we have gone through. Then information presentation, what is the importance of presenting the information, we have seen that. And next, information as a quality product, the four parameters that prove that information is a quality, that utility, satisfaction, bias and error. And we have seen the classification information, that is the John Dearden's classification of information. And also we have seen about methods of collecting data or information. Next we look into the one more beautiful concept that is called as classification of information. How was information classified? This is also called as John Dearden method. Because this method of classification of information is been proposed by the person called John Dearden. So this classification of method is also called as classification with respect to John Dearden. So in the exams there are two ways of asking this question. Explain the classification of information in detail. In one of the papers it was also asked as such. Explain the classification of information as per the John Dearden's characteristics. So when these kinds of questions are asked, we need to look into the following things. How did John Dearden classify? There are a number of ways to provide the better understanding of an information. So John Dearden has classified the information with respect to the better understanding. The first one is action versus no action information. What is it? What is the mean by action and no action? Any information that induces you to take some action is said to be an action information. The best example that can be considered is, if you are running, if it's raining there, be careful what you do. It induces you to take some action, to take an umbrella and run or go outside. So it is called an action. What is no action? An information which does not provide or induce you to take some action, but it provides you the status of the situation. So the economy of India has gone down. So you've been not prompt to do any action, but you are provided with the status of the Indian economy. That's it. So you can know what is the status of Indian economy and stay back. This is called action and no action information. Second one is the recurring and non-recurring information. Recurring and non-recurring. Yes, you know the word or the meaning of recurring, which happens repeatedly. We have seen this in recursion function, recursive function. Yes, the information generated at regular intervals is said to be the recurring information, like the monthly income, the periodic status of an organization. All these things are said to be a recurring. Means every week you take up the status of an organization. In some business, every month they look into the turnover. Every month they do it. This is called recurring. Whereas non-recurring information, the financial analysis of a organization. Every month they don't look into the financial organization, or every month they cannot look into it. Once at a time, or once in 6 months, or whenever they feel like to look into our financial status or some kind of analysis. That is not done daily, that is not done at a regular period, it is done whenever they expect it to do. So that kind of information is called recurring and non-recurring information. The third one is internal and external information. The information that is generated within the internal of an organization is said to be the internal information. Now let us consider an illustration. Principal would say, from Monday you have internals. What does it mean? Principal is saying that he has sent a message stating that from Monday internals would be happening, means this information is only for the people of MIT. When you say about students with respect to MIT, it doesn't mean that all the institution in and around Mysore should also conduct the exam on the Monday. Means this information is only limited to the internal people or internal structure of an information of an organization. Those kind of information is said to be internal information. Second one, external information. The information that is coming from the outside to us is said to be external information. Now the VC, the Vice Chancellor would say, from next month there would be an exam. Means it doesn't mean that only MIT will be conducting exam in the next month. No, it means that all the universities that are affiliated to all the colleges that's been affiliated to VTU will be having exams in the next month. So these are the three main methods how informations are classified as per John Dearden. So first one is action versus no action information, and second one recurring versus non-recurring, and next is internal and external information. Next, let us look how the information can be collected. So methods of data or sometimes information itself collection. There are n number of ways to collect. So we are not restricting it to a particular method while collecting the data. Whichever the feasible method is there and whichever the way the approach is best, we do up with those data collection. And also the choice of method is a key role. So it is not that I know this method, I only go with this method. So the best method, so that we can get a good amount of data and right amount of information, we are supposed to go with that. So there are various design issues we need to consider to design how to collect the data. It is not that wherever we go and whenever we go, we get the data or the information. We need to frame the process of collecting the data. So how well we obtain the data and what is the good quality of data, amount of data, and with those data, how can we generate the information. So there are several methods of collecting the data. Let us look into it one by one. First one is the observation. This is the simplest way of collecting the data. Just by observing, we get many things. Let us consider an illustration where we stand in the bus stop. Okay. So we will be waiting for some bus of our convenience. We will need to go for a particular place. We would be waiting for our particular bus. But meanwhile, there comes a lot of city buses. We see that every time a particular bus with a number, and we also look into it, the time that has been arrived. So we are just by observing, we get to know the various routes of the buses that would be coming at the different intervals time. This is also a method of collection of data. Similar, I gave you just an illustration of such. So observing is the first method of data collection. The second one is experiment. The students who have crossed with the various practical sessions of physics and chemistry labs, they are very well versed with. They try to mix up many things, mix and match and many things, and to carry out an experiment and finally come out with the result stating that with this I would be able to get this, or this is the result of this experiment. So those kind of carrying the activities and finally obtaining the output is said to be an experiment. So there can be a lot of experimental values that can be obtained with respect to the different combination. Third one is the survey. Surveys are the opinions collected. So we cannot assume that this is liked by everyone, a particular product is liked by everyone. We cannot assume. If we assume, we go wrong. So in that case, we need to take the opinions from various people. When we take opinions, we get to know the reality of that. How do we do that? We go for survey. There are different methods of survey. Orally, we ask them or communicate with them and get their feedback. Sometimes we provide a list of survey papers where they take up this and tick up whichever the appropriate option is there. Sometimes we do the same thing online also. You might be knowing. We take the feedback of the teachers. It is also a survey. Okay. This method of data collection is said to be a survey. Next is subjective estimation. The importance of particular subject is calculated and estimated. So then we get to know the importance of that entity or a particular subject. This is called subjective estimation. Then the fifth one is transaction processing. Sometimes if you want to do or if you want to know which is the particular product that is in more demand with respect to sales, how do we know? We look into the transaction. We look into the transaction list. So we see which is the product that has been most sold of. So with the transaction processing, we get to know one kind of information, that is the most demanded product. So that is also a way of collecting the information. Next, purchase from outside. Even the information can be brought by paying some nominal fees. There are a lot of organizations where they do the collection of information for us, where we want to know some statistical analysis, like which is the main colleges, which is the rank 1 colleges, where do we stand, all these things. There are a lot of survey institutions or various organizations, they have collected this kind of information, like doing top colleges of India. Okay, top industries in India, top manufacturers of India, all these things they have done the survey. So if you want those information, we are supposed to pay by paying a nominal fees and purchase the information from the outside. So this is also one more method. Then the publications. If you want to know something about latest trends or technology, there are a lot of researchers who publish their articles. We can get the information and data from those publications. Look into those various publications. We are able to assess new data and information. And finally, government agencies. There are a lot of government agencies. We don't know about the new policies, the new plans and new things that has been proposed by the government. We fail to understand, or we might have skipped in knowing it. If you want to know that, there are a lot of government agencies where we can approach them and we can learn or collect the data from those, like new policies to establish an organization, new policies that will come under the educations. We might be not aware of those. So there are a lot of government agencies where we can go approach them and collect those data or information. So these are the different methods of collecting the data or information. The first one is just by observing. The second one is the experimentation, where we conduct a trial and error experiments and come to a conclusion. And the surveys. Next, the subjective estimation, the transaction processing, the purchase from outside, so publications, and the government agencies. We will be concentrating on the value of information. Why it is said to be important with respect to information? Since information is said to be playing a key role in decision making only because it has its own value. If it doesn't have any value, then that is not called an information with which we are not able to make any kind of decision. So information aids in making the decision because of its value. The decision theory suggests and also various steps for solving the problem with respect to decision making. Means when we talk about decision theory, information supports because of its value. It brings the situation from uncertainty to certainty, from risk to non-risk parameters. Again, decision making situation is only prevailed with respect to certainty, because we can make a decision when we are able to make a certainty. When we are in totally uncertainty, it leads us to the chaos. When we say chaos, we are in an uncertainty situation, means confused state. When we are confused, we are not able to make decision. So this information first provides us to a certainty, then we can make a situation or a decision, then the organization would be into a certainty. Means to do all these things, the knowledge is the key value. What is that? The value we get from the information is said to be the knowledge. The value what we obtain from any of our information is the knowledge that helps us to make a decision from uncertainty to certainty. So let us look into the addition. What is that value added things that we get from the information? The additional information, if it does not cause any change with respect to the behavior of a manager or in the behavior of a decision making with respect to a manager, then that additional information has zero value. Means whenever the person has been doing something, if you are providing some kind of information, if the decision of that person is changed, then whatever you said has some sense into it, means it has its own value. If the person does not change, or if a decision of that behavior with respect to the or making of a decision is not altered, then whatever you have said has zero value. This is what we call information as a value. Let us look into the beautiful equation. What is VPI? When we talk about a VPI is value packages, means the value is perfect. When we say VPI, the value package index is high, then obviously it is that information has a high value into it. If the VPI value is very less, then we say that the value of information is very low or it is totally zero. What does V stands? V is the information and C is the cost of obtaining. So V here is said to be the value of the information, and C, or sometimes it is also called as P with respect to the package. Okay, P is said to be the cost of that product. Now look at this, V2 might be the initial and V1 might be the existing one. Means if we find the difference between those two and also with respect to the cost, finally we get one value. If this value is very high, then that information has a very high value with respect to decision making. If that value of this VPI goes low or sometimes even it reaches the decimal point, then that it has no value or that additional value is totally zero, which is of no use with respect to the decision making. This is called the value of the information. Let us look into the next interesting topic. The next interesting topic goes like this: general model of human as information processor. We know about the processor. Now how do we say human are also the information processor. That is what we are going to discuss in this session. Now, a single model of human as an information processor consists of sensory organs. When you talk about sensory organs, the organs of humans which are able to make or sense is called sensory organs. Ears, nose, tongue, eyes, skin, all these things are called sensory organs. Where with the sensory organs we can touch or feel or sense the things with respect to the outside environment is said to be a sensory organs. Next, the result of processing will be a responsible parameter here when we talk about the decision making, and also the result of sensing will also induce us to take some action. I'll give you one best example that can be considered. If you light a candle, if a flame is running off with a candle, and if you try to put your hand very close to it, you feel the heat and immediately you feel the burning sensation. Those sensory organs says it is burning, and immediately the burning information is sent to the brain, where brain senses there is something going wrong which is not needed, and it induces you to take some action. What is that action? Pull the hand away from the flame. So this is the importance where the sensory organs work, the brain works, which stimulates to take some action. Then how does all this happens? All these things happen only because of the knowledge which has been predefined in the brain. So you take your hand away from the flame. So when next time when you see if there is a flame, you never touch it or never take your hand towards the flame. You know that it burns. How did this happen? It is because you have obtained the knowledge about it. Whereas if you see a small kids, they are not aware of the flame. They try to go and catch that flame. Once they get burned, next time they would be really aware of it, not to touch it, because they have experienced it. So experience matters with respect to the gaining of knowledge. So next time when you talk about the flames or see about the flame, there is a filtering concept that happen in the brain, means it filters. Don't go there, don't touch there, don't take it. So these are the filtering concepts. Again, I'll give you one more illustration. You would be listening into the class. Okay, you are listening to the teachers lecturing. In the similar fashion, while lecturing is happening, there might be lot of other sounds coming out from the outside. There might be some students running in the corridor with shouting. So even you hear it. And there might be some students playing in the ground, shouting and clapping. Even those sounds come up. There might be some vehicle going off outside. Even that might be coming up. But what does brain says? Brain says, don't give importance or filter off those sounds, only concentrate on the lecturing of the subjects. What are you doing? You are filtering to the unwanted thing, and you are just concentrating on the important things that is needed. That is the concept of filtering. So this filtering is done with respect to various concepts. So human brain or human is also said to be a information processor. Now let us look into the diagrams one by one, how to justify it. First one is the inputs. When we talk about the input, there are lot of sensory organs. When we talk about sensory organ, it might be eyes, nose, skin, etc. I have just written one or two remaining things. Through eyes, you can sense what's happening. With a nose, you can smell what smell you are. You mean able to take up and sense it. And even with the skin, you can feel it. So with the ears, you can hear it. So all these things are called the sensory organs. So when these are said to be input, the next process is called filtering. What happens in the process of filtering? In the process of filtering, there is a concept called blocking. When these inputs are obtained, there might be various kinds of input. Even there might be inputs while listening. Some inputs might be from ear, some might be from skin, and even while listening to from the sweet smell or some good dishes smells are coming up from the canteen. All these things might be happening simultaneously. So various things are coming. So brain should say what to take and what not to take. So let us draw the importance of brain activities now. So brain would be there, and what does brain do? Brain has the use of stored knowledge. It has stored knowledge and also with respect to experience. What does the brain do? Brain sends the information because it knows what are the inputs that's been coming up to the filtering state. The brain stimulates and cells block those things and take only these things. So brain does this. Then after that the mental processing activity takes place. When the mental processing activities is happening, it is nothing but after filtering what is needed, that is been analyzed or assessed, or sometimes even it might be stored. Then the application selection and processing happens. Application selection means applying the thoughts or doing some activity with respect to the information that is gained. To do that, again information brain says, now we have processed the mental things. From the mental processing, all the processed data will be ready, and the brain says apply what has been taken as an input for the processing or for the next stage. After processing, you get the output. With the output, you might take some action or even you can make decisions. Look at this beautiful diagram now. The brain does all these things. So brain first, when we look into the inputs, there are a lot of sensory organs which takes an inputs from various parts and sends the information. Where the filtering is done, brain blocks the unwanted things, okay, and also permits the required things. When the required things are done, the mental processing is happening. After mental processing, the information is put for the application for execution, that is processing. During the processing, again brain provides the information where to put and what to do the processing and how to do the processing. After finally the output is obtained. With this output, you would be able to make decisions, or you are able to take the actions against it. That's why all these things are similar to a processing which is done by a computer processor in the similar way. So brain or a human is also said to be an information processor, where humans take what is needed and he has excluded what is not needed. So this is how filtering, absorption and execution of information is done. That's why humans are also said to be the information processor. After completing this topic, let us move into the next topic. We have seen about the information, knowledge, and now we'll look into the intelligence. We have seen about the information, the knowledge, and a bit of information with respect to knowledge. Now we look into the intelligence. We call this as business intelligence. What is this intelligence? Knowledge is the ability of a person to predict, to sense, to understand the situation and react it in an efficient way. First one, the knowledge. What do you mean by knowledge? Knowledge is not that you gain it immediately. It's a long-term process where the person can predict. First one, he can assess what might be going on, or he can predict the next situation, and also he can sense there might be some problem happening or there might be a problem in future, sensing of the thing, then understand the situation. Without the knowledge, you will be not able to understand what might be the situation and what would happen in the future. So understanding, and finally react to the situation in a more efficient way. So that is said to be a knowledge, and knowledge could be a tactic. What do you mean by tactic? A tactic is an immediate or instance of reaction at that moment of time. Means, I'll give you an example. So I know chess, everyone knows chess, and most of the time I don't win the chess because I know to play, but other person might be playing very tactically. Listen to the word, I repeat, other person played the game very tactically. You know about the famous Indian chess player Vishwanathan Anand. Okay, he plays the chess very beautifully and he has won various matches. Now what I do? I go to him and ask him, sir, please teach me chess. He says yes. He doesn't say no. He teaches me chess. After learning chess from Vishwanathan Anand, it is not that I win all the matches, because I know the rules of the playing chess now, that's it. But knowledge and the tactics should be generated internally over a period of time with the experience. Okay, so after learning the game from the chess, I don't become Vishwanathan Anand. I am just what I am. So whereas the tactics, what he knows, cannot be transferred. Remember this, knowledge is transferable. Means playing the chess is a knowledge. He can transfer me, but the tactics he uses at particular instance of time or a situation is being generated only with him. He cannot transfer that kind of thing. So that is called the intelligence. And when we talk about the tactics, it cannot be codified. We cannot codify and say, or we cannot define this and say this is tactics. No, it is spontaneously happening at that instance of time. So we call this that as an business intelligence. Then what is the difference between the data, information and knowledge? In MIS, a broad differentiation has been given with respect to all the three components. When you talk about the data, it is raw facts and figures, which it considers raw products. It is not at all a finished one, just facts and figures provides the situation status. Whereas information is the processed one. The processed data that we obtain is said to be an information which provides values, and the knowledge is the one which is the hierarchy of all these things, where you have a explicit tactics associated with this word. So these are the three differences. When you talk about knowledge, here we can do up analytical work of information. Here just the data is processed and it is information, where if the information is analytically analyzed and processed, then it is called knowledge or information. Means in the knowledge we analyze the information, then react to it in a betterment and a better efficient way, that we call it as a knowledge. Now let us look into the diagram called the hierarchy of a knowledge. Now when we talk about the hierarchy of a knowledge, this means where does the knowledge stand? So what are the different levels that come below the knowledge, or in which position is knowledge, and what are the things that need to be achieved in order to achieve the knowledge? We'll go through it one by one. First is the lower level. It is called data or metadata. At the bottom level, we have just a data. It is nothing but facts. When we call about metadata, it is information about the data. Even we call it as data about the data is said to be a metadata. With the data and the metadata, what are we able to achieve? With the data, we can have information and information sets. Means we can have information or information sets. Look at this. Initially we have a lot of data and metadata. With the data and the available metadata, we can derive information and information sets. Next, with this data and information things, we have the knowledge. That knowledge is called explicit knowledge. What we were talking about, that is the brilliance. Okay, so we have information. Now with the information, if it is analytically assessed, we can have the explicit knowledge. With the explicit knowledge means the utmost knowledge, we can have the tactic knowledge. So at most we have tactic knowledge with respect to things. When we have explicit knowledge, we can frame tactical knowledge, means a complete, when it's called explicit, we can say it as thorough knowledge, a complete knowledge, not even leaving a single point of the information. Complete, when you have a complete knowledge, you can have a tactics, you can play a tactics. How, when in the game also, when can you achieve a tactical game? When can you frame a strategy with respect to tactics? Only when you know the complete game, you can play a tactics in the similar way. When you know the tactics of handling, finally you are said to be an intelligent. So intelligence lies above all. This one is represented beautifully in the pyramid structure. The first level of that things base, you have lot of data and metadata. With the data and metadata, you will be able to derive into information and sets of information. With the information, you get the explicit knowledge. Okay, with the explicit knowledge, gaining of explicit knowledge, you will be able to codify yourself into a concept called tactical knowledge. When you are having a tactical knowledge of making a various concepts with respect to tactics and apply those tactics, only then you are said to be very intelligent. This is the diagram called hierarchy of intelligence or knowledge. This is where the knowledge comes into a picture. Now you have seen about the various things, differentiate. Now what does information know? Now when we talk about the concept of main decision making, it is not so easy. Most of the people say only with the having of data I can make a decision. No, look at this. We are talking about intelligence while making decision. That is the importance of this module. So many of the times, even if with just an information, it is not so easy to make a decision. With the information, you provide the analytical concepts, then you can get explicit knowledge. When you say explicit knowledge, it is nothing but a thorough, complete knowledge, complete picture of the things. And finally, with the things, knowing after the complete picture of organization or any matter, you can frame a tactic things. You can handle the situation by playing a tactical rules. So with the tacticals, if you are able to assess the things and apply the tactics in order to work up, then it is nothing but the intelligence you are having. So this intelligence always has a value with respect to our decision making. Now that is why in any of the organization, decision making is a key role. That's why we look into the managers who is not a hard worker, who is a smart worker, and he has all these parameters. So whenever you say, if I am a manager, if I need to make a decision, you need to be at this level. Most of them say, even at this level you are able to make a decision, then it is not a complete decision. Think before you make a decision whether you are having all these things. So always I say a clear distinction has to be made before making a decision. A manager has to make from uncertainty to certainty, with the knowledge to know having a knowledge, means he should bifurcate himself, stating that though I have all these parameters, I am aware of all these things, do I make a tactical concept so that I can have a knowledge, only then the manager could make a decision. If not, it is advisable not to make a decision, because the decision would be affecting everyone in the organization. We have already discussed the 3 levels of organization in a pyramid structure: the operation management, middle management, and the top level management. A small decision in the organization would be sequentially in nature because it applies to everyone. It is better to make right decision rather than making a wrong decision and repenting and changing the whole process again. The cost is very high if you make a wrong decision, because decision is about to make when the situation is already in the uncertainty. If you make a wrong decision, it would create much more worst, and uncertainty prevails for a longer period of time. So let us summarize what we have seen in this session. In this session, we have seen about the concept of model with respect to communication, information presentation, information as a quality product, then classification of information, then data with respect to information, data and information collection, various 8 methods. It is also said to be a information retrieval concepts, and we have seen the value of information. We have seen why the information has more value and what does the additional value means. Means if the additional information provides or aids in respect to decision making, then if it changes the behavior of a manager, then it is the additional information, it has its own value. If the additional information doesn't make any change with respect to the behavior of a decision manager, then it has no value, or it is said to be the value of information is totally a zero. Next, we have seen the general model of human as an information processor. We have seen with respect to diagram how brain would act as a processor, blocking the unwanted things and allowing the wanted things. How does it process, filters and applies the things, and how we get the output. That output, how it is beneficial in making actions and decision. And finally, we have seen about the business intelligence, that is knowledge, the clear differentiation between the knowledge and the intelligence we have seen. And we have also made the differences, various differences with respect to data, information and the knowledge, whereas knowledge is the analytical implementation after the information is obtained. And finally, we have known about the knowledge hierarchy. So when we talk about the hierarchy of the knowledge, this is the diagram where this pyramid structure completely shows where does the knowledge lies. So if you want to use to be at the level of knowledge of a person, or a person is said to be having a knowledge, he should have all these things. What are those? First one is data, next is the data sets. With that, we can derive into information or information sets. With the information, you can apply the analytical processing or the concepts of analyzing with which he can have an explicit knowledge, a complete knowledge. When he has a complete knowledge, he is able to make a tactical concept, or tactical knowledge can be applied. When this person is said to have a tactical concepts of applying in an organization, then he is said to be a knowledgeful person. These are the key points that everyone needs to be understanding before making a decision. These are the topics I had wished to discuss in this session. Thank you very much.